From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
A Bozeman business is wrapping their arms in quilts around those being affected by the fires in Maui. I'm Jolie Slee, and I'll tell you why they're quilting for a cause and how you can help them out.
If you're west of Billings in Montana, you're in bear country. Coming up, we're going to take a look at why the governor recently declared September as Bear Aware Month.
Good morning, Southwest Montana. On this Monday morning, it's 6:30. Matt Elwell joining me, and I'm filling in for Jamie.
Yeah, good to have you here bright and early.
It's bright. It's still a little dark, but it's getting brighter.
We're starting to see the sun head over the horizon. A little crisp and cool this morning. You may want a light jacket if you're spending some time outdoors this morning. Most of us into the 40s, 30 in West Yellowstone. Likely to be dealing with mostly sunny skies today. We will see some clouds roll in late in the afternoon. Today's going to be a pleasant afternoon. Tomorrow's not bad. We start seeing some rain chances and cooler temperatures a little later into the week. We're going to break down the timing on that, of course, in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Matt. Looking forward to it. And before we get to Chet's story on bears, we do have two quick bear updates. Custer Gallatin National Forest says that the Buck Ridge Yellow Mule area is still closed as Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks continues into their investigation of a grizzly bear attack that took place on Friday. They also want to remind hikers to be extra cautious around the M Trail after a black bear was sighted Sunday morning. And the quick thinking of some Bozeman residents prevented a scary situation from being a lot worse. Bozeman Fire responded to a house fire on Greenway Court in central Bozeman just after 9 a.m. on Sunday morning. Firefighters believe that the fire started near the bathroom exhaust, but luckily the residents' quick thinking, they were able to get the fire under control in time for firefighters to arrive. Right now, the exact cause of the fire is still under investigation, and luckily there were no injuries and they only reported minor damages. And heading over to the mining city, the Southwest Native Communities Powwow wrapped up in Butte on Saturday. The event has a history in the mining city of nearly half a century and is now under new leadership with Powwow President Peggy Falcon, who says that this weekend brought together plenty of people into Butte, and people from across Montana and even Idaho made the trip. The powwow included drumming groups and dancers from the Browning area and Helena.
We don't dance for ourselves, we dance for our families and the people that have gone on, and so it was a good feeling. You can feel their spirits here when we dance. Absolutely.
And event organizers say that they were thrilled with the outcome of this year's event and are already looking forward to next year's. And a Bozeman business is giving Maui and the community of Lahaina a warm embrace. Our Jolie Slee tells us how the quilting community from all across the country has come together for a good cause.
From thousands of miles away, it's hard for us to physically wrap our arms around those impacted by the fires in Maui. But one Bozeman business has found an easier way to embrace those affected, with quilts.
It's just very sad. I've been there. I've seen how they live. I've seen the town of Lahaina, and just to know that all those people that we met in the cute shops we went in, their livelihood is gone, and possibly their lives too. And so it was a profound sadness that just I still feel.
Yeah, such good memories.
Gwen Wardell, the owner of Main Street Quilting Company, is no stranger to Maui and the small town of Lahaina.
There was something about the first time I got off the plane, I was just like, I could live here. I felt like I was home. One of the places we went to was the Maui Quilt Shop, and got to meet the gals again there.
Wardell says she still recalls the horror she felt when she realized the magnitude of the fires ripping through such a beautiful community.
I had called the quilt shop in Maui just to see if they were okay and if there's any way we could help.
Marilyn Samashima, the owner of the Maui Quilt Shop, answered the phone that day.
When one part of Maui hurts, it's like we all hurt. And I wanted to maybe comfort people.
And what a better way to do that than with a quilt. With this Facebook post, Samashima sparked inspiration in the quilting community, gifting the people of Lahaina with something from the heart.
The fabulous quilts I've been receiving, they're so beautiful, and people are giving away their treasures.
Samashima has received over 1,500 quilts from all across the country. 61 of those quilts came from right here in Bozeman, Montana, packed up and shipped off by Gwen Wardell.
There are probably thousands and thousands of hours in the quilts that are getting ready to be mailed, and I'm excited to share that. But I think most of all, the joy that we get when we give, that's just immeasurable.
Let me tell you, when these recipients get these quilts, it's like they hug them. It's their new possession. You know, it's like their one and only possession, and it's becoming their heirloom because they lost everything. There's so many tragic stories, and we cry, we hug, and when they leave the store, they smile.
Sept says there is a long road of recovery and healing ahead of Maui.
It was horrific. It was horrific. The devastation that it did. It's going to take a long time.
And even though a quilt can bring joy,
just sending a quilt is not going to be the thing that helps these people rebuild their lives. But I think the best thing the community can do is not forget Maui.
In Bozeman, Jolie Salee, MTN News.
Thanks, Jolie. Today, as the country remembers and pauses to remember the 22nd anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, victims' family members are still searching for justice. But as Scripps News' Ben Shishimo shows us, there's a potential plea deal that's being negotiated between the U.S. government and the 9/11 suspected architects, which means that they could potentially avoid the death penalty.
22 years later, many families of the victims still feel denied of justice.
We have had no justice for the murder of our loved ones.
Terry Strada lost her husband Tom and some 20 friends who were all on the North Tower on 9/11.
Tom is just missed tremendously by his children. They were 7, 4, and 4 days old on September 11th.
Strada says the anniversary is painfully difficult every single year. But this year, she says, it's even worse because of a Pentagon letter sent to victims' families last month. It informs them that plea deals are being explored for the terror attack's alleged mastermind and 4 of his co-conspirators, seeking to have them accept criminal responsibility for their actions and plead guilty in exchange for not receiving the death penalty.
I am extremely upset by the idea that after 20 years of waiting for a trial, that this could all be taken away from us.
The prosecution of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and 4 other Guantanamo Bay detainees has long been troubled by legal challenges, particularly over the fact that the men were repeatedly tortured while interrogated in CIA custody in the early 2000s.
They were detained for years in secret CIA black sites where they were subjected to waterboarding and other torture.
Legal expert Jonathan Hayfitz says the torture and the creation of flawed military tribunals in the wake of 9/11 have forced the U.S. government's hands today.
It's the military commissions have failed, and it's the torture that have basically led to the plea negotiations as being the only way out to get a resolution of the case, other than the defendants basically languishing in jail for the rest of their lives and just dying without any judgment against them.
Last week, President Biden rejected a list of proposed conditions sought by the 5 Guantanamo Bay defendants, but negotiations have not ended. In a statement to Scripps News, the White House says it is committed to ensuring that the military commission's process is fair and delivers justice to the victims, survivors, families, and those accused of crimes. Pre-trial hearings in the war court at Guantanamo Bay have been on hold while officials assess one of the defendants' mental competence to stand trial. Hearings are set to resume on September 18th. Ben Chamiso, Scripps News.
Well, as we reported a lot this year, grizzly bears are being seen in places that they haven't been seen in years or even ever before. This week in Fish and Wildlife, we take a look at Montana's effort to help people and bears coexist in the Treasure State.
Montana Governor Greg Gianforte recently declared September as Bear Aware Month. The simple reason? If you're west of Billings, you're in bear country, and awareness key to safety for both you and the bears.
We have several very healthy grizzly bear populations in Montana. Their numbers are growing, the distribution is growing, and so what that means is people have a greater likelihood of encountering bears in more places every year.
Jacobson notes that most bear encounters are preventable. Human safety is always key, but let's face it, a negative grizzly encounter rarely ends well for the bear.
It's unfortunate that we have to euthanize bears in this part of the state because they become food conditioned or habituated to getting food rewards from things like garbage cans and dumpsters and bird feeders and things like that. Those situations are preventable, and we can help foster healthy behavior in wildlife by securing those attractants, and it ultimately means that we have to euthanize fewer animals.
Fish, Wildlife and Parks holding various events throughout the month to help foster bear awareness. Jacobson says these events are not meant to spark fear. Instead, they're meant to instill knowledge.
It means, doing some simple things that really go a long way toward personal safety, but also toward healthy wildlife behavior. We've talked about attractant management, carrying bear spray, knowing how to use it, traveling in groups, making noise. All these things add significant layers of safety for people, such that they can go out, they can recreate in bear country, and they can still enjoy it for what it is.
This week, in a tiny segment of bear country, Chet Lehman, MTN News.